What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here for Adorama TV with something I personally been waiting for a long time. I don't know what took them so long, but this is the new Profoto OCF Adapter. And this is a long awaited one. I know you're gonna say it's like, it's just an adapter, but it adapts the A1, A1X, or A10. So all you Profoto Speedlighter users like me, it allows you to use the Profoto A1 with the rest of the Profoto system. And I'm gonna explain that in a second. But before I do that, I just wanna kind of go into why this is such a big deal as far as speedlights go, because we're using round heads and you're actually seeing more and more manufacturers move towards that. But when the A1 came out, it was the only one out there and there's no way to really modify it. All the soft boxes, all the modifiers, all the brackets, everything was for a square head and none of them really fit the round head or bigger diameter, whatever you wanna say, form factor in their system. So you didn't really have a way to modify it aside from whatever magnetic pieces Profoto put out there. Well, here we are. I think about 2 years later, I have 5 A1s in my kit. And this is what we used to have. This heavy piece was what Profoto had out forever, before the A1 was even introduced. And it was so of the time because you had 4 shoes, we meant 2 speedlights and 2 radio triggers separately to fire them and put it into, let's say, a 4-foot octa. But we don't need that anymore. We don't need separate triggers anymore. And this thing is probably twice the weight of just the light alone. So articulating arms, travel stands, packing it down just wasn't a viable option. And you guys have seen me use the A1s all over the channel. And every time I did a video, all I would get in the comments was, what did you use to get the softbox on there? Because no one had any idea of what did it. Well, this is what it was. Secret's out. These were homemade, janky as hell looking adapters. And basically it was just a cold shoe that I pieced together from something, pieces from these things, and just raw metal that I was able to shape and cut, and sockets for a stand built into it. And that was my solution. And that's fine. This worked great. I was able to pack it. I was able to modify the speed lights on the road. But what I wasn't able to do was use the rest of the modifiers that are available to me. This didn't have an umbrella adapter. First off, you could always get an umbrella adapter. That's not a big deal. We've always had that ability in speedlight world. But what about something like, I don't know, Profoto Beauty Dish, right? Or maybe I want to use a Magnum reflector, or this is gonna get messy, Fernanda. Or maybe even the OCF system itself. And if you don't realize, there's a trend going on here. They all share the same Profoto mount. So the same mount that worked for your B1X, your B10, your B10 Plus, even your B2s, which I know a lot of people picked up when the price dropped to like $900 for a 2-light kit, you're able to now just interchange modifiers from this whole system now with your A1 as well. So if you're someone that has 1 or 2 A1s, you can just throw it into play and not have to worry about, well, what am I gonna put on this thing? Can I put this on there? How am I gonna modify it? It's basically the entire system able to be used cohesively. So to me, this is the glue. One of the first things that's really cool about it is, aside from having this diameter that lets me put any speed ring onto an A1, so I can put any softbox, strip light, octabox, you know, square, whatever you need. And like I just showed you, the reflectors like the Magnums and stuff like that, or the beauty dishes. You're also getting the same joint, and this is a pivot point that exists in the B10 and the B10 Plus. This is really cool because now if you put it on a straight up stand, you still have a pivot point, just like if you used an umbrella adapter, but now you're able to use every other modifier. Also, 2 pieces. So let's say you don't really need this part. It's even smaller and packed downable. That's my own word. I hope you guys like that one. But it has a 1/4-20 on the bottom. What does this mean? That means I can put my speedlight into this thing, and then I'm able to use the 1/4-20 to just put it right onto a tripod. So let's say I'm doing corporate headshots or something out there, or I have a travel tripod in my bag, or I don't even have a light stand, but I do have a tripod, I can use this. And you can also use things like super clamps. So if you take a 5/8 post that has a 1/4-20 on it that goes into a super clamp, if I just screw this in here, take a super clamp, seat this into the clamp, tighten this down, now I can basically have all the options of the modifiers that are out there and then clamp it to something in my environment, a chair, an I-beam, a pole, anything that's out there, I have the ability to use as a stand while having this adapter built into it, which is phenomenal. I mean, the versatility that you need out there on location and the ability to use things in your bag for more than one thing goes a long way when you're out there with only what's on your back. Think about that. So I'm super psyched on that. A lot of these things are just opening up the possibilities for the entire system, including articulating arms, which you guys have seen me use. In fact, this is the one I usually use a lot, but once you take off the cold shoe adapter that I usually put on here, you have a 1/4-20 female socket. You get a really quick adapter like this, like that. You screw this in here and guess what? You now have a 1/4-20 post to adapt. It's just, you really don't have to think so much of where you're limited. It's more about thinking about the creativity and things you want to apply to get the shots you really want. And with the A1, they first marketed as the smallest studio light. Well, it was a speed light, but now it really is kind of the smallest studio light in the lineup. A1, A1X, A10, B10, B10 Plus, B1X, B2, they all can take the same modifiers, and I think that's just gonna elevate the entire system. And if you're just getting into the system, or if you've had the system, either way, you can benefit from the OCF adapter. All right, so after that big spiel about what's so great about the OCF adapter, let's go actually use it. And I was gonna shoot with my actor friend Zoe today. She'll be out here in just a minute, but while she's getting ready, let's set up our lighting and come with a plan. So right off the bat, I have this white wall. I don't wanna set up too much stuff. I wanna just keep it a small kit, like as if I was using a speed light system. And usually you do that on location or what you can fit in a backpack. So I have this white wall as always. And if I set up a key light about here, we'll have fall off. If we expose for Zoe, the fall off means that that white wall turns gray. So I'm gonna use 2 lights. I have 2 adapters. Let's see what we can do. The first thing I'm gonna do is light that white wall to be white. So she's an actor, she could use these type of shots. The commercial white background is kind of like a staple out there. So I'm gonna take the socket off of the OCF adapter, and I'm gonna use this Manfrotto carbon nanopole stand. It's a pole and a stand. You can actually detach it. I guess that's kind of like a theme right here. We can attach our bases from the mount itself. However, it's light, it's small. I can fit on the side of my backpack, no problem. So I want to just see what I could do working that in there. So I'm going to take the 1/4-20 adapter that's on there and put it right onto the OCF adapter. Then we're just going to open this up. And what's cool about this stand is it's super low. So it's basically like a floor stand, which means I can have Zoe stand here and still have a light behind her without it being in frame lighting the wall. So what I'm going to do is just put this right onto the stand right there. Look at that. So now I have a stand for a speed light, and if I wanted to, I can throw any modifier I want on here. But for the first set, I'm just gonna do a raw light. So I'm going to just put this right into the adapter. I'm gonna unlock the shoe first so that we don't have an issue. Slide it in there, lock the shoe down, which is, I just wanna add, is really convenient, because on cold shoes, usually what you have is like a knob and springs and just pieces that can either strip out, fall apart, get lost in a bag. Here, there's nothing. I just put it right on the cold shoe and lock it down, and I'm good. So let's put this into place. I am going to just throw this pretty much a little bit of height, not too much. And I'm going to crank this up to 10, get all the power I can out of it. And I'm going to get this wall white by getting a nice spread on it, by pulling the light just enough, get enough distance. I'm doing this literally by feel and by past experience. I mean, this is my studio. I know how things roll, but I can easily just open up this stand and make it however high I want. So because Zoe is about this tall, I want it in the middle of her shoulders at that wall, because I'm not gonna care about the fall off here, and I'm not gonna care about the fall off all the way up there. So the best bet I have is to make it within her shoulder blades, right? So it's hidden behind her body as a physical light, but able to spread where I need it. Okay, so I have the head all the way zoomed out. I cranked it up to 10. And then what I'm basically gonna do is take another stand and we'll get this into play over here somewhere. Let me just mask up and we'll get Zoe in here so I can figure out what we're gonna do for our lighting. Zoe, you ready? All right, cool. Everybody, Zoe! All right, so this right here is your X, so like right there. Okay, so just, oh, I totally nailed it. Look at that. You can see, come over here, Fernando. You can see shoulder blades, light. I have a pretty good starting point here. And all I need to do is really just line it up so that it's straight with her spine. And odds are, I'll cover this wall with a good amount of light. Before I even touch that light, I'm gonna set up a key light in a different group. And I'm gonna get this light set up, get a meter off of it with a TTL exposure, then turn that light on. Because I already know all I want out of that light is white wall. But her, I want a perfect exposure. So I'm gonna take an already mounted A1X, because I have A1s and A1Xs in my kit. And I'm just going to mount this thing. So let's first of all make this reachable, right? And I'm going to pop this guy right on. Okay, so I'm more of a fan of putting my stands on the right side of me. It's just a weird habit of mine. So I'm just going to put this right onto a 5/8 post on this C-stand. So now we have a speed light totally mounted and totally able to be pivoted however I want on a studio stand. Now I get to pick whatever modifier I want. Now we're not just talking about soft boxes anymore or umbrellas. I can literally choose anything. So I told Profoto when I saw this coming down the line, I really want to try a beauty dish on this speed light, because I've always wanted to do that. And what better beauty dish than our dented one with brown tape from all the demos that you've seen me and Daniel do at Adorama. Oh, there's a new dent. All right, cool. That's optimal. You guys don't get that, but it's optimal. I put the dome on, by the way, because what happens is when you feed the light in here, you're basically hitting this reflector plate, right? Well, if I have a dome, it'll expel more towards the side and it'll actually give it more of a scattered light to get around the dish more. And I think it'll just be more beneficial and optimal. All right, look at that, boom. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at a beauty dish on a speed. I'm just psyched. I'm just so psyched that this is happening right now. I wanted to do this for so long. Let's get you back to Mark. All right. And I'm hanging it upside down because now I'm getting the light in line with where I want it on her face. If I would have mounted the other way, it could easily just go over her, right? So this is another quick little benefit to what's going on here. And if you don't have a post that goes right angle like this magic finger does, but don't worry if you don't have something like a magic finger or a mount that can go right angle. This actually does have two different sockets on it. So you can actually mount it this way or this way and just tighten down the knob. A lot of things have it out there, but it's just another aspect of versatility out of this adapter. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do now. I'm going to shut off that back light and I'm going to only put on my group A right here with the beauty dish, and I'm gonna do it in TTL to get a quick exposure on Zoe and adjust it from there. And I'm just gonna leave that at full 10. If I feel that that back light is actually reflecting so much that I get some fogging or blowback or whatever flaring type, all I'm gonna do is move her closer and move the light with me, creating more distance. Because remember, all I need is that light to make that wall white. I'm not using it as a light source itself. I'm just using the highlight that's getting blown out as my background. Let's do this. I'm spieling too much. Give me a little bit of a twist to the right. Yeah, to the right, that's it. Like that. So we can get a closer shot. Because they'll be like, oh my God, shoot down subtle. Yep. All right, so I finally got to use a beauty dish on the A1, and the reason I went with that is because Zoe has great bone structure, and I really want to use a harder light source like this to get the texture of her hair, the texture of the denim thread, which really goes well with her eyes. It's all cohesive look, but what you really get with that beauty dish is shape to the bone structure because it has a fast fall off. You're able to take a hard light source, put it closer to your model, and therefore get the fast shadows to happen for the jawline, the cheekbone, shaping out the orbital bones, things like that. And that's cool, but as soon as I step back basically, since this is such a small area of light, if I try to step back, I end up literally coming up short if I want to get more torso for Zoe. So her arms go dark. And you can probably see that right now. I put some of these images up. What can I do to fix this? Well, I have that light back there. Maybe I'll just go into a gray background and give her a different look and also fill in that light a little bit. So I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna grab this light, and now, instead of just using it as a 1/4-20 on the stand, if I didn't need to, well, I'm gonna put back on this socket that was the second piece to the OCF adapter. Once I put this on, what it gives me is the 5/8 female socket, and I'm able to put this right down, tighten it down, but the real reason I'm doing this is because we had this before, but now I can point it towards the floor. So what this allows me to do is use my own white floor as a giant reflector. I can actually bounce it off the floor and reflect it all the way up Zoe as a fill light, which is a lot of fun to do, actually. I'm a big fan of doing this. And remember, the closer it's to the ground, the smaller the size the circle of light, which means smaller bounce. So that's kind of what you're aiming for, is how much you want to come bounce back. It's almost like zooming the head, literally almost, because this is your zoom basically. All right, so this light is set to 7.5, but it also has a modifier on it. So I know that safely I could probably set it to about 5, which is 2.5 stops away from this, if not more, because there's actually something in front of this light source. Anytime you put something in front of the light, I don't care if it's just a gel, it eats up light or takes down your exposure. So 7.5 here, maybe it's closer to like 8. Well, if I set it to 5, I'll tell you what, I'll even split the difference. I'll do 5.5, why not? I know that I'm in a safe zone for just a fill light. It won't overtake my key light or balance 1-for-1 and make it too flat looking. And now I know that that background is gonna go gray, so it's gonna be darker. She'll stand out from it with her golden hair and this blue. Actually, the blue might meld to the gray, so you might actually notice her warm skin tone and the hair more coming off of that darker gray. So let's give it a shot. If I want to, I can always throw in a hair light or whatever else I want, but let's do one thing at a time. Twist to the right, tilt the head a little bit, and chin up more. Yep. And let's get the other side. All right, so you can see with just 2 speed lights how versatile this became, and that's kind of what's so great about having this adapter, is it kind of unlocks the rest of what's able to happen with the A1, A1X, or A10, especially with the rest of the system. I don't have to think about what can I do with it. It's more like, what do I want to do with it? Because I have all the modifiers and the options to do whatever I want. We gave you, what, like 2 looks really quickly in a span of 10 minutes. So we did the really clean white background for a commercial look for a headshot. I felt like we weren't getting enough light on the torso, so to give her a nice torso look really quick for a fashion or a lookbook, or just to show that you have that range to model with, I stepped back and I used another light as a fill light and let that all fall off. If I wanted to, like I mentioned, I could have put in a hair light to separate it from that background a little bit. I don't think I really needed it. It looked very, I think we kept saying, like, it looks really natural, it doesn't really look like a flashy shot. So it had that really natural light look, very organic, so it wasn't off-putting or felt artificial to me. Yet the white background felt artificial because we literally made it a commercial white background. But you see how the train of thought just keeps going? I could have thrown in a hair light, could gel the background. And let's just say I was already working with a B1X or a B10 or any other light that was a little bit more watt seconds in the Profoto lineup. I also know that in the back of my mind, if I have A1s, I can throw them into play and not have to worry about what can I do with them, where are the limitations, because the limitations are kind of gone now that I'm able to use the entire system with all the lights. All right, that's gonna do it for me with the Profoto OCF adapter. I wanna thank Profoto for finally putting this out. I'm super psyched on it. I can't wait to see where things go from here. I want to thank my model Zoe for hanging out with me today and getting some super quick, clean shots. And I want to thank you guys for watching this. So don't forget to hit me with a comment down below if you want to ask me any questions about my experience using the OCF adapter or anything I can help you out with the A1 maybe. Don't forget to hit like, share this video around, and hit subscribe, plus the bell so you get notified for when videos like this come out on Adorama TV. And I'll see you guys next time. Later. This world drives me crazy. We all go a little mad sometimes. All right, so after that big spiel about what's so great about the OCF adapter, let's